Okay, just a little quickie here to a few thoughts here and there. Mainly, okay, finally saw the Lower Decks Strange New Worlds crossover episode. It's probably gonna be the only episode of Strange New Worlds I will ever watch. I mean, I think I may have watched the first one just to see okay this one, but this one is going to be it because like next week is the musical episode. No, 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 no. That would be the stake in the heart. I think of this whole thing probably. I gotta do something about that. But I think we can probably blame Joss Whedon for a musical episode because Once More with Feeling works so well. Everyone thought they can do it. No, no, it's only because of the weirdness of Joss Whedon's Buffy stuff. That's why that even halfway worked. But no, suffice it to say, I'll just without getting any details. Okay, when Frakes, they got the best director they've got in Jonathan Frakes as far as doing Star Trek goes, and everyone was stayed true to their characters. But I am disappointed that they just readily accepted this as the proper thing. They know damn well it's not right. Okay, but I understand why they couldn't because they're still kind of can't bite the hand that feeds you too well. So you got to play along. I think Jack and Tawny did great. They did good job. They're true to their characters. Even Mecca had to acknowledge that Mariner's not as annoying in live action. So progress. But and I figure I kind of like Ortegas as a character. The only one of the few original characters they have on there, they're not plagiarizing from somewhere else. And of course, that's the one that has an actual personality. But it's there. It's there. Okay. It's a one-off and easily ignored. There's fun in spots, but I'm not gonna nothing to hang a hat on that. And I'll go into that detail with a full review. And wife is currently going through Gates McFadden's documentary series, The Center Seat. And even what I've seen so far, some fandom legends have been creeping in there that are not true. Oh, they launched because I think they're desperate to try and get a pickup in the ratings. They're trying to get guys who I liked Lower Decks, so it got me to watch, but I'm not clicking on the service to watch it. Steph did; she laughed her ass off. And yeah, there's funny bits in there. It's very well done, but it's like it's still largely ignorable. It's not going to figure in the greater record. But there was stuff in the Center Seat that I mean, I probably should tweet Gates McFadden directly on this, but no, that's not right. Yeah, Lucy should be applauded for sticking with Star Trek. She made a commitment to this film, but she entrusted Herb Solo, saying he's delivered some hits. He's their network guy. He's the guy who get us in with with NBC, because her big thing was CBS, and they turned her down flat on the Star Trek thing. But take care of this. It's distracting me. But Lucy's also enough of an old thing that you never put your own money in the show. I should do that in front of a mirror. I'm not going to do that now. No line in the producers. First rule of show business: never put your own money in the show. Second rule of show business: never put your own money in the show. And the second pilot, yes, it's largely unheard of, but it's also not that unusual. In most shows, it's like there's vast difference between the pilot and what actually airs. The pilot for All in the Family never aired because they had different Michael and Gloria, but it sold the show. And I don't know, the Lower Decks is coming out September 7th. That's not new. That's a started date. That's when Star Trek aired. September 8th. In fact, that was a sneak preview. The official premiere was actually a week later. But okay, okay. The whole thing with the pilot situation with Star Trek, again, you got to go back to one, and the thing about the lieutenant. They talk about the lieutenant there because they had to go talk about Roddenberry's background, and they do the old thing of how they pulled it. No, the episode, to set it right, did air, and it even aired in reruns in the summer. That was part of the whole thing. The Pentagon said, if you air this episode, we're pulling our support. It would make no sense to pull support if they never aired it. Think, people. Come on. There's the fact that they did air it. That's when the Pentagon pulled the support, and they could no longer use Camp Pendleton. But it's because, but Roddenberry kind of shamed him into running it because he said, no, we're not going to run this episode. And he screened it for the NAACP, and they said, this is a very important episode. You should run this thing. And the thing is, the network's run by good liberal people at the time. They're all voted for Kennedy. And so, okay, well, I guess we'll air it. So they called the Pentagon's bluff, and they weren't bluffing. They pulled it. They pulled support, and from that point on, and late in the scene anyway, because I think they figured, well, they got enough stock footage and everything, and Roddenberry immediately took to drilling a lot of extras into how to close quarter march and look like soldiers. So, and it wasn't a crippling blow. It cost them money because now you have to pay for you have to use the backlot instead of going to San Diego. Well, I think that I think Canadian, if it's connected to the studio, it's still effective. The thing is, animated shows, just like with the original animated series, why they got all the established Star Trek writers for the original animated series in the 70s, animated shows are exempt from the strike rules. So, if anything, they should still be pushing this stuff animated. But the other thing is like, it did air. It did air on schedule. It was like late February of '63 when it aired, or '64. So it aired, and it aired in the summer repeats too. So that's the whole thing, and stuff about Lucy putting up her own money. No, she put up the studio's money. Some of but also the whole thing with the pilot is that after they screened The Cage for NBC, and they were a little irritated that they didn't get the space western that they'd been promised, but by the same token, they deliberately picked the most difficult script they had been offered as a pilot episode, with the thought of, okay, they're wanting us to really muckle down here and take on CBS with their Lost in Space thing that's already going. And again, they were in no hurry to work with Roddenberry again because of the headaches he gave them with the lieutenant. I'm not sure what's going on with the Prodigy, because that show is actually, it's won awards and it's being nominated for more awards. And from the internet chat I've had with Aaron Selkin, with the executive producer, there maybe because it's now available for streaming on Amazon. You got to pay for it, unfortunately, but at least it's out there on Amazon and a few other services. So it's out there and available, and it is, if you can afford. Yeah, it's worth the money. It's a good show, and so things are in the works. They're making it available. They're letting them shop it around. I suspect, my gut is telling me Cartoon Network might pick it up. They got a knack for resurrecting shows that have been discarded by networks. I mean, how many times they brought back Family Guy, and Futurama. So I think the Prodigy is too prestige a thing. It would definitely help Cartoon Network's profile to pick up a Star Trek show. So I think that they got some hope for that. I'm not giving up the ship on that one yet. But and Lower Decks is doing solid enough. They've they've got fourth season coming out, and they're sure they've already wrapped that anyway. But but thing is, they felt they kind of double crossed Herb a bit, Herb Solo. And Herb used to work for that. He was kind of their, he would, it was kind of a double agent, for NBC. He was NBC's guy on the inside at Desilu. Because they wanted some of that Desilu action that normally CBS was getting. And Herb, was doing, fine for them. Now, I can't speak to, Sci-Fi in Canada. So I have no idea. I barely see any CBC stuff that, because that's the thing. The U.S. TV market is very one-sided. I love it when a foreign show actually cracks the U.S. market. I thought it was great just on the fact of when Flashpoint started running on CBS. Like, yes, let's bring in some of these other shows. We don't have to run everything. Okay, there are good shows overseas. Let's see some of them. Not everything has to be produced by us. We don't have to own everything. Let's see some of the other stuff. Let's see some British shows. The Avengers run on ABC. Yeah, that was a great time. But they felt they kind of double crossed Herb a bit, and it's like, no, we picked that one because we knew it was the hardest one to do. And if you could pull that one off, then we'll think. But so we're kind of at a bit of a quandary here. And it was Herb is saying, well, how about we just do another pilot? And we'll do it, because they were like, do we really want to pick it up? And because we didn't, things like they didn't want to renew it. I didn't want to buy the series on the strength of the Cage, because I figured that would just let Roddenberry start going wild with his strange little psychobabble stuff. We want that sci-fi western thing he wanted, but we can't buy it on this, or we'll look like we're going back on it. So it's kind of a thing of like, give us another pilot that matches the talk of what you sold us on, a sci-fi western type thing with the action adventure thing, and that's where we got Strange, Where No Man Has Gone Before, where you are a little more, ending with Shatner in a fist fight with a god, and and the Zap here. So it's like basically it was kind of a face-saving gesture on all parts. Okay, yeah, we've proven you can do it, but we don't want to give you the idea that you can do this on a regular basis. We want the more traditional action adventure stuff. So now show us you can do that, and then we'll buy your series. And actually, that little formation just when I put it together, yeah, this makes a little more sense of how it went down. Because you've shown us you can do the crazy wild stuff. We don't necessarily want the crazy wild stuff. We want something a little more real and a little more grounded for our we want to because again, the networks is like, network television is a funny thing. It started off in the golden age when TVs were expensive and only the rich and highly educated had TVs, so they played to a higher crowd back then. And that's why you look back on some of these old, like Sid Caesar and these guys, that it does play well now, because they were playing to a higher demographic there. They weren't playing down to the idiots in the peanut gallery. They were playing for the rafters there. And it's only when and they would tackle certain social subjects. Back in the old days, back in the 50s, so you had shows that would tackle some rather heavy subjects sometimes. That's how Twilight Zone got away with a lot of stuff, because they were. But it was but after a while, when TVs got more affordable, more people got, and not necessarily the college-educated rich kids. Now you're talking just average Joe Schmo, And this is the mindset of the executives here. We got regular people coming in here now. I don't know why even the monitor's not even on this. I don't know why I'm bothering with the headphones. So yeah, they figured they can't really play to the highbrow stuff like they used to, and so as the 60s wore on, they started getting less and less of the social commentary stuff. Roddenberry, if he had been doing stuff like that back in the 50s, I mean, he was active, but he was still struggling. He was starting doing cop shows at that point. A lot of stuff would have flown back then that didn't fly later, It's like he just missed it by just a little bit. there's one episode, there's one piloted APO 923. It was essentially MASH about 10 years before MASH, the movie, it was like 1962, and it was at that point the drama comedy mix wasn't quite there yet, and it was a good show. It holds up today. It centers around, and you see some familiar names, because he would always, if he had a good name, he'd stick it in the file somewhere. So you had the lead character was a guy in the Signal Corps, Army Captain James T. Irvine, who was a bit of a war hero type thing. And then the opening thing is they're trying to get him to take the Silver Star because of conduct and one thing. But this guy apparently a little bit of PTSD going on. I'll get to that. Okay. And it's the main trio of this thing was going to be Irvine and a bomber pilot named Captain Pike. I think it was I forget what the first name was, but it was the Army Captain Pike, who was a bomber pilot, and a Lieutenant Edward Jellicoe, who's a PT boat captain. And these three were operating in the same general area. Pat Harrington played Jellicoe. He's a fun. This was a wheeler dealer type. He was the comedic character. Always trying to how to make a buck out of this war. In fact, the opening thing is the three of them have, because Irvine was also a bit of a mechanical genius type thing. They had managed to put together an ice machine. This is the South Pacific. This was a shirt, 4 bits a cube is what they were charging. That's it. They're talking 50 cents an ice cube. And they waltz into the officers club, and and they have this ice machine cranked up, and you crank it up, and it spits out ice cubes. And you had that element there. So you had these, you're always trying to pull, but there's also a very tense thing. There was the plot centered around this little isolated village way up in the mountains, and caught in between there's this Japanese outfit. Then this is well into the war. They're starving, and they've been raiding the American camp for supplies and killing some guys in the process. But they're making off with ammo and weapons and food. And this village has been kind of playing neutral in between there. And then Irvine gets up. One thing where Irvine got his PTSD going is because this guy he killed in really close-up combat. It was no longer, some shape 50 yards away, you hit with this guy up close and personal. And they made the mistake of going through his pockets and found a picture of him and his wife. And it's like you just killed a human being type thing. And then it gets a little tough to, till they quit. This guy would have gutted you in a heartbeat, and it. Okay, get your act together, or Irvine. This is a war, and no one's playing for patty cake here. Well, something happens, another raid, and he Kate's another guy out, and again going through his pockets and finds an apple. There's not supposed to be any apples around here. And after questioning the local, one of the natives who works bar at the officers club, they're way up in high. That's where they had some apples up there, and that's what sends him off on his own against certain orders. He should, and that's where these other two, Pike and Jellicoe, start going up to try and retrieve their friend before he gets charged with desertion. And there's a sequence where it's like these three guys are now to figure out some way to defend this village against this Japanese, I don't know, whole platoon or maybe, company. And as Pike and Joe, look, I do stuff from like 30,000 feet, and he does it on a boat. What are we supposed to do? We're not combat troops. And it's a pretty good little scene where it's like they're basically trying to get the rally of the troops to come out and just hold them back, while Irvine does this, one-man army team, then starts taking guys out, get in behind him, and so as the thing take him out with a BAR. He gets wounded himself and all that. And after they get the thanks and gratitude of the local villagers and and his commander coming up and say, get a little song and dance going on. And Jello gets the idea, actually, insurance, that's the way to do an insurance, scheme going on to get some money out of this war. And that's how they end the episode. So no, Roddenberry is not opposed to comedic elements in his show. He just didn't want to do a full-on comedy. That's where he kind of drew the line. Thought they were getting a little too far with Tribbles. But no, if Jeff Hunter had stuck around, that would have been, because Jeff Hunter was a very, very deep thinking, it wasn't the most boisterous guy around, He was a movie actor. He was, kind of tall, dark, and brooding type, which was fine for Pike, because that's the way he was written. And that's the way, Kirk was originally kind of written. But it was Shatner who kind of brought in the whole thing. It's like, let's lighten things up a little bit. This is kind of a depressing watch here. And the big, because he was also coming off of doing that Alexander pilot. We're playing Alexander the Great, and got running around with a toga and a sword. And, we will take the glory, take the hill, And he'd been stuck doing a courtroom drama for the past year or so over on CBS, and he wanted to break out a little bit. He was a very active guy. He's, archery and motorcycle stuff. He wanted to, get a little daring do going on. But I'm not sure what you really assess Pike, because you only really have the one episode. Well, not just this. You want to come on in? When I get an actual dialogue here, I'll send you a link. But it's like everything pretty much has to go back to the way Jeff Hunter played it, because that's the only real example you have. So you got to derive from that. Okay, link is in your thing, and I got to put the headphones back on. So. But really, that's the big thing I'm thinking. I was like, is that if you do want to check out the center seat, keep in mind that no, not everything in there is particularly on the mark. There's a lot of little fan legends and assumptions that are creeped in there that aren't necessarily true. Okay, like Lucy pointed out, and they also talk about Paramount buying Paramount did not buy Desilu. Gulf Western bought Paramount and Desilu. This is when the whole, the thing of corporate ownership started kicking in. And some brainiac back in Wall Street thing, hey, you know what a good way to make some money is? Buy a movie studio. By people who knew nothing about making movies. And they figured they can run them like Gulf Western, their big thing was a sugar company at that point. They knew nothing about the motion picture industry or about TV. So they thought that everyone would be, and they bought Paramount. And they bought Paramount and Disney were literally right next door to each other. There was just a fence separating the two studios. And they bought them, smashed them all together, and that's when it became Paramount Studios. So just Paramount Pictures and Desilu Studios. They tore down that wall in the middle, and it's all one big lot now. They renumbered all the Desilu sets, because Desilu Stage 8 and Stage 9, where they become Star Trek, became Paramount Stage 28 and 20, something like that. I think Dr. Phil's there now. Yeah, well, Bruce Greenwood is okay, but Bruce Greenwood's okay in anything. Anson Mount, I think, is probably coming close. There we go. And we're in. Anson Mount's also a big Star Trek fan himself, so he knows what he's going through. That's why his season on Discovery is one. He's the one who only knows he's actually on a Star Trek show. The rest of them were just bumping around. So, and that's where he kind of locked horns with Alex Kurtzman apparently a time or two. I think there was actually a fist involved.
And,
Yeah, they kind of had a. They kind of glossed over though a lot of things. But well, Paramount, but no, Paramount did not buy Desilu. Gulf Western bought Paramount and Desilu, smashed them together, became one big happy studio sort of. And then started, doing their little, running like a sugar business, start cutting costs. Well, the guys on the Paramount side of the lot, they know how to defend themselves better in justifying their costs. So they weren't suffering as much. On the Desilu side, though, they were, that was run a little looser for the most part, especially compared to Paramount. But when Desilu started, it's like, it's like some of the older guys, I think Jimmy Comack, when he was talking about, it was kind of like, when they're all up and coming comics on the Catskills, talking about if we could own our own place, and do everything we want to do. That's kind of the way Paramount, Desilu ran for a while. You'd have a lot of all the nightclub comics and old comedians and writers run and trying crazy things. That's kind of why you got Star Trek in the first place. Because they brought, hey, how about we do a sci-fi show? That's going to be fun, They weren't necessarily, they wanted to make money, but that wasn't the driving force. They wanted to create. They wanted to be crazy, do the stuff the suits wouldn't let
Lucy wanted to find things that would break the norms. And I remember, as much as everybody always credits the first interracial kiss to Star Trek, I mean, come on. It was her whole show and her whole marriage to Ricky was interracial. Come on.
Yeah.
It wasn't black and white, so it wasn't as obvious, but it still was.
It's also a little overplayed, but I mean, well, at that point, that was the first interracial kiss. It was a real husband.
And actually, there's been a few that were in obscure channels before that, but they weren't known to anybody, so it really didn't do much.
Well, they started telling the Kirk Uhura, first interracial. No, not really. Okay.
No, not at all. Really.
First, to properly, it would be the first black and white interracial kiss on scripted television.
Yes.
Previously, I think even just a few months before that, Sammy Davis Jr. gave Nancy Sinatra a peck on the cheek during some variety show. Maybe even been on NBC. And
there was another one that I heard that I found with my brother on another variety show. But I mean, look, was it done to try to break barriers? Was it done to try to help people connect to each other? Yes. Was it pushed by Lucy because she liked the interracial stuff because of her marriage she'd been through? Yes. Those parts are true. Yeah. But it's not the first. And that's always irritating me as a Trek fan.
Yeah. And also by the time they got to play, Lucy was out. Okay, this was all Paramount. Now it's the third season. Well, at the time, I don't think it didn't even occur to them about a black and white thing until they're actually getting around to film it. And somebody points out, so there was just Michelle. It's Michelle. And originally the script was that Uhura and Spock were going to kiss.
There are.
But no. If anyone's kissing it,
there are people who talk about the fact that Lucy asked if they could push the racial boundaries at the beginning when she pushed to get. And she, to her credit, did push to make Star Trek a thing. She was the one who really was trying to get it into the air.
Yeah.
And you got to give her that credit because
I'll give her plenty of credit for them. But it's also debatable whether she even read the script that Solo dropped off in a room.
So it's hard to say how much say she had because they're never going to give us the full story.
Yeah,
but
so much,
I do know she always was pushing the interracial stuff, and I do know that she was absolutely the one behind pushing to put out Star Trek in the first place.
Yeah, and I think it was just because they wanted to show that Desilu could do the great. It wasn't just all sitcoms; they could do the big dramatic stuff, and the wild sci-fi stuff.
And honestly, her and Desi are a prime example of an actually mutually abusive relationship. They were both horrible to each other, but when they were married, when they were not married and friends, they were good to each other.
Yeah.
they just both
were much better as ex-spouses.
The problem was they actually both had leader personalities, and those are not common in society. Yeah. It's really, really difficult for leaders to share space.
It was kind of the movie they did back with Javier Bardem and Nicole Kidman. Lucy Arnaz said that they did capture their spirit. She was amazed how well Nicole Kidman really captured her mom. I mean, and even the fact that Lucy did not talk the way she did on the show as she did, behind the scenes.
Oh no, she actually could have a very classy voice. I've heard hers delicate speech voice.
Yeah.
The thing is, she played on the accent she had as a child, the same way Fran Drescher has.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, is that how they spoke as children? Is that the way they learned the language? Yes. But did they play on it as they got older for characters when they'd already learned to speak better?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. And she mentioned Javier Bardem. He looks nothing like her dad, sound nothing like him, but attitude-wise, he nailed him.
And also, it was very weird that people complained about those two being the part. I mean, you had a Hispanic man playing a Hispanic man, and a woman with that are kind of Celtic-looking features, dyeing her hair red and playing a redheaded Celtic woman. You're not far off here, people. They actually
the only
could have been much worse.
Nicole Kidman's a natural redhead. That's the only change there. They did play fast and loose with the sequence because they combined separate things that happened weeks apart into that movie.
I mean,
because the whole thing of Lucy's trying, they're trying to out her as a communist, and the dispute with Ed Frawley and Vivian Vance, and some other things that are going on. Those were months apart.
Yeah, they were.
They smashed them all together into 1 week, for the sake of the story.
Yeah, Vance and I always forget his name, but you just named him, the one who played Fred. They hated each other with a passion the whole time. They hated each other.
It went off to a very bad start because Vivian Vance is actually a little younger than Lucy. And they made her gain some weight, to play frumpier, and look older than her. And when they found out, who's playing her husband, they brought Ed Frawley over there. He looks like a father. He heard that. And he never forgot that.
See, the problem that I have with a lot of the old Hollywood, okay, today the actors have too much power, they get too much greed, they get too much thrown to them easily. But in the old days, they were slaves to the studios. They were once they had they were pushed and bullied into these contracts when they were nobody, when they had no name, when they had almost no option, when they couldn't get work. Half the time they were homeless when they signed the contracts. And then they put on these contracts for multiple years where they worked for the studio and they had no say over what they did, and they were physically abusive. They controlled their sex life, their home life. They forced Judy Garland into an abortion while she was filming Wizard of Oz to hide how old she was. I mean, all kinds of shit. They were abused slaves to the studios, and that had to change. That had to die. But what we've got now is they push so far the other direction. That's become the other way, where the writers and a lot of the other people who work under the actors are being paid almost nothing, abused constantly, treated like shit and stuff, and the actors are the ones doing it. And that's not good either. You can't. No, they're both wrong. You know?
Which insane people do you want running the asylum, okay?
And so, this is where I actually argue with a lot of people on our side, the ones that are completely just automatically going, ha ha, to those who are in these strikes. The writers really are abused. And I've actually looked at the actors' strike. It actually, most of the stuff is reasonable.
And I also say it's live, but they're not going. They're not striking for the sake of the people who had the multi-million-dollar They're the one. They're going really. For the schmucks working. That don't.
They're striking for. You've got an actor who has no money, who's taking a job, who can't pay for the bills to go on location and film the job. Pay him every week so he can pay the hotels and shit. I mean, this is stuff I can actually say is reasonable. And I wanted to look into things. I wanted to see things, but again, hey, Steffi, sweetie, it's Fran Drescher. Yes, she's a liberal, but she's also a reasonable one. She's also really protective of conservative friends. She always tries to be for the little guy when it comes to contracts and stuff. She's a good heart, and whether I think she's the one that went out viciously attacking people, trying to force people to get the jab and other stuff, and saying that you're acting like the people who persecuted my family in history. And it's like, and she's the one heading the Actors Guild now. She's the president of it. And I could think of worse people to be there. honestly, because I've always had a respect for her, even when I disagree with her.
Yeah.
She does say she wants to actually do a reunion movie to The Nanny, and she wants it to be done to show a positive instead of tearing the men down. Bring back Johnny and bring back Max and her.
Yeah.
If she does it that way, I can actually support that.
She's president of the freaking guild. She should pull something off. Unless she's too damn busy being the president of the guild, like I don't have an opening schedule.
Yeah. The problem would be is even as president of the guild, is the studio going to screw with things once you filmed it? Is the studio going to try to change the plot on you with the contract? And because the studios don't adhere to her necessarily.
Yeah. And that's the strike. So,
she is the one that's been removing the black balls on people like Fraser and Kelsey and them and trying to get them work again. And she's the reason Brendan Fraser got removed from being blackballed for coming forward as a victim. So you got to give her respect. Yeah. She bends people on both sides, and she doesn't like the old school abusive stuff from Hollywood. She wants that era of Hollywood to end.
Yeah.
And I hope she's successful with this. The people that what it gets me is these people that are bitching because she went to a fashion event and took pictures of herself with the Kardashians while the protests went up. She's in her 60s. She's been through cancer twice.
Yeah.
She went to a fashion event as somebody who built her name off of being a fashionista and took a picture with somebody who's in the Actors Guild that she represents. That's not. There's nothing there.
She's in a position she can't say cancer, schmancer. She's been through it. She's beaten it. Okay, fuck you.
Yeah. The thing is that she talked about this before. She was open about all this before.
Yeah.
That she tries to be friendly to everyone, and she said before when she took the head of the Actors Guild, that she doesn't care who people are, if she agrees with or disagrees with their lifestyle, their shows, or what they're doing. She's going to try to be supportive of them when she meets them, unless they've done something specifically that she thinks is violating the group.
It's like if you can do the job, do the job.
So yes, she let the Kardashians take a picture with her. Well, they're still technically in the Actors Guild. She's trying to be an unbiased. That doesn't prove anything.
She took a picture. She's not doing a performance. She took a damn picture. Get a grip. There's no contract about somebody to slip.
Some people just want to be angry. They just want to find a reason to hate everybody. And I actually have always liked her. I liked watching The Nanny. I liked the Spinal Tap stuff. I liked UHF and all that growing up.
Oh yeah. I just watched UHF recently because I was trying to find the one scene.
So
one scene where he's on the violin. Ava Madsen. I'm sorry. I needed that
so stupid. I mean,
no. I needed that scene though where he's trying to. I'm sorry, please. My life is hell. My life is hell. Ah! Tried to, for doing the whole thing with Indy, I needed that. So I ended up watching just about the entire movie to get to that. Oh yeah, that was it was right after Zell Miller. When he had done his keynote address at the Republican National Convention. Zell Miller is an old Democrat for long. He's actually governor of Georgia at one point, but he was in the Congress. And this is where he's talking about, what John Kerry wants to be. He voted against the M6, the F-15, against this system and that, and he wants to be the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Armed forces armed with what? Spitballs, and it's just it was an old stem winder of a speech. And he came off of that directly to talking to Chris Matthews on, I don't know what was it, CME or something. And some reason Chris Matthews wanted to get after trying to drag in Michelle Malkin had just had to put out a book. Critical.
Yeah, I remember when she was more popular.
Yeah, but the thing is, he's trying. What do you think? He's like, this is not what I'm here to talk about. Okay. But he was actually no wait. Chris Matthews had gone after Michelle Malkin for that book, unfairly he thought, and he was still holding the grudge on that one. So he's got Matthews on the line. It's like It's a good thing we're not back in the days. I'll challenge you to a duel. The way you treated that young lady. Matthew's guy. Where the hell did this come from? Threw him off. But he was already still had a ball of fire going after that speech. He was still on high RPMs on that one.
But it just amazes me some of this stuff, and I don't care what people believe as long as they can be decent people.
Yeah.
As long as you can find a common ground with people, I don't care what you believe.
Yeah. He also thought his political career was over at this speech, but then he found they want to elect you mayor of Peoria after that speech. They love you now. So I was like, okay.
That's the thing is, I want people to have success. I want people to grow as people. I want people to do well. Just don't treat people like shit while you're doing it.
Yeah. You're talking about came out with a book not long, National Party No More. Talking about once upon a time, the Democrats and Republicans they agreed on certain core things. Defending the country. And it was just how we got there that we differed. Now it's like, forget it. It's not the same party anymore. And he figured they're no. It's a total clusterfuck now.
I mean, it's like, okay, let's go back to you remember the show Wings, right?
Oh yeah.
Tim Daly is an asshole. Steven Weber isn't. They're both hardcore leftists.
Okay.
Tim Daly is one of those who, if he disagrees with you, he's going to trash you, he's going to tear you down, he's going to try to tear you apart. Mm-hmm. Steven Weber is the one who got banned from over 30 liberal websites for defending conservative people coming in and speaking freely and telling people not to slur them and attack them.
Yeah, okay.
Again, they're both hardcore, kind of almost extreme left. But guess which one I'm going to tolerate a lot more than the other?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
One of them's genuinely a good person. He's just, I think, in some things he doesn't get it. But I think his heart is sincere, and he just wants everyone to have the best life he can have.
He's interested in the work. He's not interested in trying to make a point.
So it's not the viewpoint, because they are almost the same politically, the two of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's which one is genuinely a nicer person.
Yeah. Yeah, McFarlane seems like a nice guy, but he's also very far left.
And I still can't stand the stuff that he writes. I cannot stand his humor.
Yeah. Well, he gets it as far as Orville goes. And it's like, no, that is a better successor to Star Trek currently.
And I've heard that from everyone. I still have this cringe side where I almost don't want to, because everything I've ever seen that he's written, I hate his writing style. I hate the humor style.
The old line is, well, he doesn't. It's not that kind. He doesn't do the Family Guy stuff with Orville.
It's not just Family Guy. Yeah. Everything he's ever made, he can't stand. So it's like, at that point, is it going to probably be better than his other stuff to me? Yes. Am I going to probably get into it like everyone else did? Probably not. Well, is it still his writing?
Yeah. We want to give it a chance sometimes. Just give it a shot, and if you don't like it, okay, fine. But it is sort of a working class Star Trek thing. It's like the old line. It's Star Trek, but with hookers and blackjack. And yeah, he was the drunk in the revived Cosmos series. Him and Brandon Braga, and they bringing in Neil deGrasse Tyson. Which one crack I heard is like, well, of course, he's the sequel to Carl Sagan, so of course they got him in there. Although
Tyson's one I can't freaking.
Yeah, I've heard some unsavory things about him, but he's another one thing. He seems decent enough. I still.
It's not even based on what other people have said. It's based on things I've seen him say and post and do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's such an arrogant piece of shit.
Yeah. I did like because they just with San Diego Comic-Con, the last event they had was Starship Smackdown, and there was a few years back, and then Rob Burnett they sort of gave them this, go whatever, and so they do a thing about people, which starship is better than this, and Tyson is there. I don't know if he did, but he was just in the audience. And he gets up to sing the praises of the original Enterprise. And point that, and one, everyone's God's man. It's Neil deGrasse Tyson, and he's in the Great Unwash with us. And he's up there talking about how when this ship came out. No, keep in mind, when this thing came out, this was a game changer. Previous to this, everyone just is either a version of V2 rocket or a flying saucer. Even immediately with the Lost in Space, what are they doing? Running around a flying saucer. This one changed everything when they're talking with the Enterprise, because after that's when you start seeing all the different designs come out. People are realizing you could do more than just a rocket or a saucer. So you can't just look at the ship itself. You got to look at what happened because of that ship. And there's a few one of the better edits, because at this point everyone's got their cell phone out and is taping this. So there's multiple angles of this little exchange. And the other thing is at the end when Rob Burnett, this is one of the incredible experiences of my life. The fact Neil deGrasse Tyson just did a starship pitch on in front of him.
I mean, look at some of the classic writers. Look at. Let's go with this with Asimov, who is, of course, to most people more known for Laws of Robotics, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I still remember reading all of the Lucky Star and all of this, so it was more obscure sci-fis and stuff like that. And yes, a lot of things that they've based a lot of technology on, a lot of things they've used to design spacesuits and other stuff came from concepts he had in his book.
Yeah.
They altered them once they figured out the technology, but a lot of stuff actually was designed off. He wrote detailed descriptions how to make different things in a lot of his books. It was incredible. But when it came to science of what the other planets are, what their temperatures are, stuff like that, things like that, what the going science of that era was very bad. And some of his descriptions of other planets and their stuff, they're kind of cringy now.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have to understand, product of his time, and he was still a visionary for future technology.
Yeah, and he's pitching this stuff back in the 40s and 50s and stuff. At that point, they're still talking, we might land on the moon by the turn of the century.
Yeah, and he was a brilliant writer in a lot of ways. And I loved a lot of stuff. But yeah, if you look at it through modern eyes, some of his stuff, especially in the Lucky Star, comes off a little cringy with how he describes other planets. But again, this is where people realize you have to look at the historical lens as well. And yes, I understand the argument people make where, well, let's not glorify historical monsters, but at the same time, we have to acknowledge the rules, the norms, the laws that they were born into, raised into, taught from the beginning, and the fact that those are going to affect their thought process. They do better to try to break past that and become better people.
It's look, Martin Luther, he never wrote a Star Trek.
Martin Luther, for all he did to help people break away from the Catholic Church abuses and stuff that were happening and everything else.
Yeah.
Read his writing outside of the stuff he did to help the Protestant movement. He was very anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
Really bad. I mean, pretty horrific shit, he said. But I don't think in his mind he was trying to be bigoted. I don't think in his mind he thought he was being hateful. I think he thought he was trying to help save these people. I think he was misguided as hell.
They killed Christ. Okay, no.
Yeah, he was part of that era, and he was misguided as hell. But I don't think his heart was actually hate. Yeah. I think he just was a product of his times, and he didn't understand how wrong he was. Yeah, I think so. And you also got to realize that the reason he did what he did, and the reason that he had to become the space of speaking out against and changing the culture and stuff is because the churches were intentionally locking up the holy books so nobody could read them but the leaders. So nobody knew if they were actually being told the truth or not. That's really scary.
Oh, yeah. When they tell you you can't read this, that's no longer teaching this propaganda.
And this is why
that's one of the few things that actually Oliver Cromwell did good was he was able to welcome the Jews back into England, because there was a purge going on, and that was the first time they used the term Holocaust in regard to the Jews, but the way they were being treated before Cromwell. So one of the few things he did well was in ending that, and
Do you remember the author that did a lot of the newspaper comedy articles in the 90s, Dave Barry?
Oh yeah, my writing's been compared to Dave Barry by other family members.
Have you actually read the book he wrote more recently about taking his Jewish daughter to see the Holocaust Museum in Israel?
Never read that one. No.
That section, he actually did a story. Well, it talked about, it went through different things in his life and stuff, and this was not a comedy book. It had bits starting and hugging her tightly, crying it because he saw the bigotry start to grow in his community again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you read this and you sit there going, holy shit. Because he's not Jewish. His wife and daughter are. So it hit him really hard. Mm-hmm. And I can actually see that.
Yeah.
I mean, I read his stuff. He still writes things up and on, and I read it. Mm-hmm. I mean, there was one where he did a short story he wrote that was a spin-off of Mocking 24, where he had everybody shooting everybody. Marine salutes him. He runs in and shoots him in the knee. It's like, oh my god.
That was kind of weird that like I said, other fans compared when I was writing stuff compared to Dave Barry. I really haven't read that much Dave Barry for I probably based it more off David Gerald and his essays.
I actually can write like him, and that's actually partly because when we were doing stuff together as a family when I was a teen through the 90s era, when we were trying to connect as a family, we would wait for do our paper stuff because for a long time, me and my siblings were running multiple paper routes throughout the whole neighborhood interlocking area.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do what you can to help pay for bills,
Yeah.
And every week when they did his article, we'd actually sit down and read it together as a family. We'd take turns being the one reading it to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So this was actually something we did together.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I look back at that and things like that. People don't realize how much comedy it packs.
Oh, yeah.
Patrick F. McManus was one of my dad's favorite authors. He would stand when he visited there. Mm-hmm. It is a very racist town.
Yeah.
He still loves that author. You can see in this author how much he grew up in a town where every so often you see it in his writing, talking about bigotries and the ways they would judge the different people he was interacting with. But he wasn't that person.
Yeah. Hold on. I got yell at stuff here for a bit.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. It's a good way to diffuse these differences and help us learn to understand each other. Yeah. Now,
Masioka. I don't think Massey's even in acting anymore. I think he may have gone back to the computer stuff.
This is the other thing. I met my husband in Coeur d'Alene at college.
Mm-hmm.
He lived in Sandpoint before for a while. Mm-hmm. He was born in Cali. He's lived up near Seattle. He's lived in Orcas Island. He's lived in Singapore.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I get it. My husband's had a little more of an adventurous life in some ways than I have. And others I've had more. Mm-hmm. He got more. His family had more money. He got more of the travel, see the world, live in different big locations, experience. I got more of the survivalist crash through life. And we both had very different experiences before we got together. But my husband did live there for near there.
Yeah.
When I met him when we were going to college in Coeur d'Alene together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
His dad lived at one of the small towns next to San, right in between the towns. Mm-hmm. I mean, it is a very uncomfortable area for me.
Yeah.
It was. I had no problems with people until it got out that I was talking to some of the students about being Native. And then all of a sudden, I was being followed by everyone, including seeing the cops following me walking to and from my apartment at work like 6, 7 times in a few blocks.
Yeah.
It was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And right after I left there was that big bust in Coeur d'Alene of the missing kids they found out at the home there.
Uh-huh.
The house they found them in is actually about 3 buildings from the apartment I used to live in.
Heck.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't miss that area, but if I didn't go through that, I wouldn't have met him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of like I don't think about our 5 years and living in the wilderness there. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff I never would have seen if we hadn't been, like the whole thing going down to Florida, and then stuff on the way.
I think we have to remember,
and I still
no matter how
bad,
no matter how bad things can be,
mm-hmm.
we need the experiences so we can grow.
Yeah.
I would never have become the writer, the artist, or the other stuff if I hadn't been trampled.
Yeah.
Then again, the reason I wouldn't have become those things is because I would have been able to focus on being hyper instead of having to be resting for months because I busted out my back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But would I take it back if I could now? No.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's the thing. We have to learn to accept that some go through a lot of hardships in our life, but can we become better from them? Yeah. Can we use the lessons learned from them to do things that can give joy and beauty to other people?
Yeah.
That's the hard part of life.
I think one of the Everly brothers went in the Marines for a while, talking about boot camping and one of the worst times of his life. But I'll say that he would not trade the experience for $1 million, but he also wouldn't go through it again for $1 million.
That's kind of how I feel about when I was in shop. And to all the people that say, "Well, no, it's not. It's not different. You're not treated sexistly." It's like, the guys even admitted it themselves after.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they actually did. This is well beyond what they did to each other. Don't get me wrong. When you're in the physical trades, there's an amount of hazing to every new person.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But this went beyond.
Yeah.
And even the guys admitted it when they backed off on me.
Yeah.
Did I get them to respect me? Did I get them to actually grow a bit while I was there? Yeah. Did I do it by whining and complaining because they were being disgusting pigs to me? Or did I kick their asses and make them respect me? Let's be honest. It's me. Which one do you think it was? I mean,
yeah.
But there are still some of those issues. And that's something people need to accept and understand,
Well, just be quiet and stand up, baby.
I was the only girl in the shop. I was skinny at that time, and you put my curves on a skinny girl in a shop where you have to wear skin-tight clothes and Carhartts and stick a tool belt on it showing where the hips are, and then have a bunch of boys that are 18 to 24 around you working with you.
Hormones are raging, so yeah, they're going to be...
And you're on a center where over 3/4 of the students are male. Anyways, even if you took out the female grades, and yeah, I put up with some shit, especially considering the fact that when you're talking about Job Corps. And yes, this was full union shop. This was full apprenticeship. This was not just some little training shop. But when you're talking about going through Job Corps, you're talking about a place where a lot of people are court ordered there. A lot of them are gangbangers. A lot of them are ex-criminals. A lot of them are some of them who've committed hard crimes and got put in juvie and when they get out of juvie at 18 or court ordered into there to get themselves back on their feet and stuff like that. And so you have some hardened gangbangers and criminals coming into these centers too, and some of them have done some pretty horrific stuff.
Okay, we got some going in chat here. Eric's Bunny?
No, I was a carpenter. I was a tool belt diva. That I did wrestling, and I could go back and look at that and tell you why having a girl wrestling with the guys, whether you had enough for 2 teams or not, is not a good idea. And I could tell you how aggressive the guys there got, but that was a whole other issue. Holy shit!
Well, something like
I will also tell you
wrestling. Now's your chance to legally grope. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Now you finally grab parts that normally you wouldn't be. Now it's part of. No, I'm wrestling. It's part of the move. I gotta grab you there. No,
it was an accident. I swear. I didn't mean for my hand to cut you there that hard. I mean, no, that was very much a thing. And there was the one who went beyond that.
Yeah.
And there was the one who decided after everyone left to try to push me up against the rock wall. And the moment the stupid rock wall hit my back, I hurt him. So, yeah.
Why is she wearing a cup? Wandering hands. Okay, well that way.
I miss my old figure at times, and at times I don't, just because I get enough creepers and stalkers anyways. Back then, I got a lot of them. When I went to college, and I was fresh out of wrestling, and I was toned, and I was thin, and I still had my chest and my rear, and I'm not short girl, so I kind of stood up above them like that, and oh my God. I had probably about 2/3 of the guys on that college campus chasing after me. And then I ended up with the little nerd boy everybody said to get a date. So,
okay, let's confirm it. Tony, is this one of your guys here, Tony? Yeah.
I have no idea. I'm leaning towards let's see where things go before we say anything.
Yeah.
But I have no idea. But
so it's like,
it was like. And yeah, there was plenty of people who cut ties with me when they started going out with somebody else. There were plenty of ones that quit going out with me or don't need to put it out. Because that's what they wanted.
Yeah.
That's what the guys were after then.
Because we'd be going for, military. I'm the one who's in the military. She wasn't.
No, I couldn't get in even if I wanted to. I did.
That's why I was wondering about the barracks. You calling me a barracks bunny? What the hell is that?
I wanted to at one point, but with the history of seizures and other nerve conditions, that's not possible.
Yeah.
And I went through and I did clerical work for a while, and I actually worked with the center director in the front office as the face that everyone was talking to me in the center too for a while, which they don't want most of the students to do for obvious reasons. And she liked me so much, she trusted me with everything. She let me make IDs for the other students. I was sitting there thinking that was probably not the smartest idea, but at least I didn't do anything shady with it. How many students would have actually tried to if they'd had that chance? Oh, look, the staff director said, let's do this, right?
Yeah. Another one showing up.
It looks like they're apparently trolls, but I don't care. Oh, we want to make comments, and yet I'm happily married for over 17 years, and you're stuck in chat bitching.
Yeah, and I'm still not sure what the hell you're driving out here.
So
and this was me just going there talking. Really, just kind of a little teaser of what's going to be coming up soon on the channel. We're going to do a few reviews, and I fully expect to be out for you and not have no audience whatsoever. So welcome. You're helping my algorithm, asshole. So go on.
That's the thing. I think people think that it's so going to hurt people's feelings if you make comments about parents.
I don't know what the hell's going on. Come on.
It doesn't matter. If you're stuck on looks, you're never going to grow past what you were in high school, and that's sad for you. Because I dated every good-looking stuff.
I'm waiting for one to say a comment about Indy trying to defend your honor or whatever. They're like, okay, come on, bring it on. Because one guy made a comment on the thing about, where I did a little highlight. I don't know if you saw it yet.
No.
Right, where I took basically the thing of her reading it, combined it with our live reactions of it, because they're two different videos. And they cut to the point where she's threatened with being swatted, and matching up our reaction there. And some guy finally commented on, like, why are you wasting your time hating on this? And I decided to open up with Indy's own phrase and hate. Are you retarded? She used that a lot. It's like, where are you seeing that? I'm trying to alerted to the fact that her mods are not backing her up. She's been doxxed. She's been threatened with SWAT, and they're sitting there with their thumbs up their asses. It's like, where are you seeing the hate, Joker? I'm scared to hell something's going to happen, and they're going to sit there and watch the show.
Some people only want to tear people down. That's all they are.
Yeah.
And it's really actually sad.
It's like, you better hope to hell I am watching that stream, and I'll be able to call 911, because these guys are going to be worth shit. Because I doubt they have her address on there. Let's see, what do we got showing up here lately? Yeah, no new comments.
Snap beat.
Well, what do we got? Yeah, Steph has that wrench for a reason. She has booted some people. Like, no, he was fine.
I'm like, technically, I could too easily.
Yeah.
Something open. The difference is, I don't get offended that easily. I just don't. Because I don't think I look good anyway. So it's good.
Yeah. I mean,
there's a reason I've spent the last,
we could easily do a run through of, what are your favorite lines from Blazing Saddles, and this far into it, it's live. It's like, we're gonna start doing the expletives here and there. But like, oh, that reminds me. Just had one a comment flagged on Twitter.
Oh.
Well, I was talking about, because somebody was ragging on Shatner about, it's like, he comes, well, I got a couple of Emmys, so I don't know what he's talking about as far as the no talent part. And I first start off with, like, I guess they haven't seen your Mark Anthony, Because there was a clip for a while of some, one of his little, they'd show little extras of theater on TV, and it was Shatner in his like 20s doing the Mark Anthony line from Julius Caesar, friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your, But then I also went and started me thinking about, well, wait a minute, now, and talking about you reminded me of an interview with Ralph Zarensky, who was one of the directors, and at the time they were doing the episode Metamorphosis with Ephraim Cochrane and the companion, all that, and he's watching the dailies with Gene Kuhn, and it's during when he's doing the big speech where he's basically he's on him with the and trying to implore the companion, let him go. You're the companion. He's the man. You can't. And it had to stretch into two parts because I've not been verified yet, and I'm not going to until I cross that 500 follower mark, and then I monetize. And the second part when the and apparently I think it was, as I said, it was Kuhn saying, that's why we pay him the big bucks. It got flagged because the word Kuhn was there. And I had to fire back. The man's name was Gene L. Kuhn. Okay, I put it in all caps to point that. Slapped the computer upside the head who did that, because I know it was automated, because it just picked up on the word. Yeah.
I mean, this is why algorithms don't work.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I got suspended on Twitter before, literally for calling out people saying false things about my tribe with documentation of it from the museum in Crazy Horse.
Yeah. Computers aren't good with context.
No, and they seem to be pretty racist usually when it comes to the posts on native stuff. So that's probably how they're programmed by certain people who think they speak for us.
Okay, staff, we're talking Mary here. There was a live stream that went disastrously wrong when we were still trying to raise some money to stay in the hotel we were at. And this is right after I called up Mexican Iron Man for tossing us under the bus. What's that? Yes, yeah, we're talking about that. Mary and her band busted in. It's like, I was just starting to make some progress. One guy seemed receptive to the idea of helping us out, but it just went to hell in a handbasket real quick. And let's see, it was a point where Steph had run out of her Prozac, And I'm trying to make a point, but she also has a candy knack for destroying any train of thought I might have be going just by screaming. So I could not get my point across, which made things worse. So I'm trying to yell at her, shut up, and it sounds like I'm being abusive as all hell.
Mm-hmm.
The
That's
point
what I think a lot of people also don't realize. They come in here and they make these snide little comments, and they're sitting behind computers, nice and safe. They have no idea what some of us have been through.
Yeah.
You're not going to affect somebody like me. I have seen more horrors than they will ever understand.
Yeah.
And it gets boring, honestly. Because
what a schmuck I am. I still like to repair that bridge with Mary at one point. Because it was a fun time, but it's like, I'm not holding my breath on that. Because the thing is, I dared kick back at the big Mexican teddy bear known as the Mexican Iron Man. It's like, he's done this before, okay? I'm not, because when I drew another channel came up, yeah, he did the same thing to me. Problem difference is he was a smaller channel. I at least, monetize and have an audience. Small it is, But he promised all kinds of help and then just cut him off and start talking shit about his channel. It's like, this guy has priors, okay? He's not a big cuddly teddy bear you think he is.
And that's the thing is, I think we get so caught up. People forget that there's human nature to compete with.
Yeah.
The reason I pulled away from so many of the groups is because ego feeds ego, feeds ego, feeds ego, and they get worse and worse because everybody tells them their shit don't stink, they're great people, all this shit.
Yeah.
And after a while, they start believing it. And look, I could sit here and try to be this perfect girl and do everything right. And I know I'm not going to be. I know I'm screwed up medically. I know I have all these issues.
Yeah.
I also am going to tell you and Steph about something after we get off stream.
Okay. I think I probably chapped a few hides on that guy though, because I managed to maintain pretty good terms with other people involved, like Valiant Renegade. He likes my comments a lot. I've been there, and he's tight with Mexican Iron Man. In fact, I think Mike tried to challenge me during the live chat. What do you think you're doing? But I stayed there and I didn't respond to it, and I maintained my composure. So I think I managed to maintain my status with some people. If they're not taught, everyone else is not taught. No, leave them alone. They've been through hell. Leave them alone. I tell you, that little incident, had us go through a rather strange legal procedure. Because we were just trying to get through another weekend. Thing it wasn't long after that the cavalry did show up. Yeah, still great with Anthony. The fact that I got him the last open mic thing. He had no problem. He hadn't even talked to Mary himself for God knows how long. So
yeah, there's several people that I get along with great. Who
and I'm reassembling my list. I'm reestablishing my karaoke playlist too, because I deleted the whole thing after the Mary thing.
Yeah, definitely have something to tell you over.
That was well over 300 songs. I had too many damn tracks in that anyway. I got much better tracks now.
Because you know me, I don't say things about people publicly, but I do have something to tell you. So, I mean, this is the thing. Look, I get.
Well, you call me out in public, I will tell you. I will call you back in public, though. So, like that thing with Indy, that thing with Mary. It's like, hey, they came to a public chat uninvited and did her little thing. Hey, I got no problem, responding in public and naming names.
This is more for me.
Yeah.
I'm not getting sucked down to their level, and I'm not getting dragged into drama. So I just ignore them and basically tell them to go fuck themselves.
Now, and all this whole, because one guy was trying to be a mediator there for a while, and I told him my son, I see you're coming from a real position, but that was not being received on the other side. And of course, she blocked me, so I have no idea what she's saying about me. What went on? So And I never got any word back of what the hell did she, was told. And although I did, because I do have an account that has been permanently suspended on Twitter, so I can go and I can look at anything, even indies, and see the whole thing. I can't respond, I can't like it, but I can see it. And I went digging through Mary's one time. I was like, I'm not seeing anything. So maybe she hasn't, So I don't know what's going on over there. Although there was indication, though, during this one guy that things are not exactly paradise over there either. So who the hell knows? Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just an interesting thing to me why people say the things they say and do the things they do.
Mm-hmm.
There is an amount of anonymity feeds ego and lets people be jerks, say stupid shit. I guarantee you, the dumbasses in fucking chat that made those comments about how attractive I am are probably fucking fat bastards who look like they've been banging their own mama for 20 years without showering.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's just be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a fun time today. My broken down ass had to walk a few blocks way over to Napa because I go out there, we're going to go to the store, get some more milk. Flat tire.
Yeah, you want a tire story?
Yeah, kid sis is cross town. It's like, no, when she get back, she's not going to be in the mood to help me change the tire.
My car is in the city. I missed my trip I was supposed to be on today.
Ooh.
And that was after the freaking rock quarry actually threw a bolt at their thing and actually nailed a hole through my tire and the rim.
Ow. Yeah, this has been a slow leak, though. I thought there was something was wrong with the alignment for a while.
Yeah, we didn't have a slow leak. Suddenly we couldn't steer the car.
Yeah. Now I go out there and I'm taking took a bag of trash out to the thing and walking back. That's not sitting at a good angle. And go up there and think, yeah, that's flat. And since kid sis couldn't help and wasn't going to help, because he was going to be too damn tired of getting, it was going to be a couple hours anyway. So like, okay, why? Let's see. I'm not going to be able to wrestle the spare tire out in any kind of tiny thing. It's like, well, let's just get some, fix a flat. So it's still like 3 blocks, a couple of blocks or so at least, to get over to the nearest convenience store and gas station. And thankfully, someone reminded there was a Napa auto store just right over there. And I keep, got there, probably, I'm not sure, maybe half hour before they closed.
Panther's making progress.
And then I have to walk all the way back.
To answer her question, Panther's making progress. In fact, he's laying there on top of my bedding, making me lay back down.
Mm-hmm.
Baby girl's been making progress.
Okay.
Dina is really bad and getting. I'm surprised to tell she's still alive at this point.
I thought she'd already passed.
No, she's in final stages of cancer, but not in pain.
Mm-hmm.
And she keeps waking up again, even though her throat's almost completely tumorous now. And it's like, I don't know. She's not in pain and she's happy. I'm not going to do anything but make her comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
Ornery's anxiety went through the roof to the point where she was trying not to eat or drink and stuff. And we did have to vets put her on meds to calm her down.
Mm.
So she's going through too much. She was the other night we went out and she was sitting on the couch staring at Dina's favorite pillow crying.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
She knows what's going on.
Yeah.
She's dealing with the ghost in the new cat. She's in the house she doesn't like as much, and she's losing her only companion she's had for the last 3 years.
Yeah. No, she's
not feeling well.
To get the vet to do a house call to spring night, we'll just do it here.
Well, there is a vet in this little small town here Mom's in, and literally to bring Orion in the middle of the night when she was having trouble being able to meow and freaking out and stuff.
Yeah.
they charged us 90 plus little blood work. It was
That's
almost
the problem.
much of anything. They don't charge much. They charge like 40 something for the visit at all during the normal day.
Yeah.
So I'm good with them because they don't charge much, and they've been really good to my kitties with all this going on. So, but because Ornery, they even talked about it with the vets when she was a kitten, has such severe anxieties it actually physically affects her to the point where it can spike her fever, make her have trouble eating other stuff. It's not just it's not just mental; it's physical.
Yeah.
And she was getting bad enough; she wasn't functioning well.
Yeah.
And so they kind of gave us a little bit of some pet meds for anxiety for her, and that she could take with her CBD, which is making her a little bit interesting. But she's calmed down and she's eating. Steve looked over at her and went, "Hey, is it fun being stoned?" And she looked a bit of thrilled. Like, yeah.
But
I'd rather do this.
It might be good to just have it, just put down Athena now before it does start hurting. You know. So.
Well, the thing is, I really don't think
because it gets to the point where she starts suffocating. That's not a good way to go.
I don't think it's going to be that bad actually for her for a couple of reasons. Because times when she's having any issues is when she's asleep, and she's not in pain when she's awake. Kind of. I don't remember what the name for it was, but yeah, they've got her on some meds to calm her nerves. With Athena, though, we're just making her comfortable now, and if things get worse, we can get that vet in almost no time. So we're not too worried about that situation.
I mean, I'm not a big person that just but my family, I think, has been a little too casual with it. We'll just put them down because goes back to our dog Pepper, the miniature cocker spaniel, not really big, but it was a small cocker, and she got a heart condition, and put her on some special food, but she kept getting into the cat food, which is but so instead of what I thought they should have done is figure out some way to keep the cat food up. No, they just put her down. Now at 9 years old, it's the quick things. This dog was as old as I was. So immediately went to the accusations of murderer, and I was so yeah. I did not take a well. I still haven't taken a well. Okay, and that was 50 years ago. Okay.
I don't think you should put the animals down if you don't have to.
No.
They should be given as much of a happy, comfortable life as they can. Just like we've already decided, she doesn't have much time left. She gets what she wants. If she wants tuna juice, if she wants milk, these things that aren't usually good for kitties. Guess what? She gets them.
Yeah.
She gets to eat whatever she wants and do whatever she wants until she passes.
Yeah.
Because really, what are we what are we giving her if we keep from the stuff she wants?
Yeah.
We're still going to lose her within the next few days either way, probably.
Yeah.
But I think the reason that she's hung on is because she loves this house so much.
Yeah. That's like we had one dog, a Schipperke, named Sebastian. That's why we refuse to call kids this Sebastian, because I'm sorry, I associate with him my dog. Okay. He'd like to get loose, and he got picked up by the animal control people, but they I found out later they didn't go pick him up. They left him out there. I was like, oh great, yeah. I come home from California. Where's Sebastian? They're like, no, he ran off. And they mentioned it. No, they called up. Yeah, we got your dog. Well, let him go. Hopefully, he got adopted out. If it was Jefferson County, hopefully there's a good chance someone picked him up. But otherwise, he was an older dog. The odds are not good.
You see, I don't get that at all.
They also know if I had known about that, I'd have gone down there myself and gotten it myself. So when our dog Tiny started going, because again, I found her, she was already older. She gray muzzle and everything, so she was already elderly dog. And when she started going, and my mom started, no, you are not killing another one of my dogs. Those are my exact words.
I actually get that.
Mm-hmm. And sadly, my real sister, he passed on that up to her nephew, had an Akita named Daisy Mae. And this dog, bothered me too. So I'm perfectly happy they brought the dog over to me, and she would have been, just as happy there. And one thing, when Tiny was still around, her and Daisy got along like sisters. They were perfect. And I even told him though, no, if she starts bring him over, we'll take it because he still got all of the stuff. They've got some food, got her leash and everything. Well, apparently, one point apparently, to his mind at least, she kind of wandered in a room and then didn't quite know what she was doing. One, how the hell do you know what's going through a dog's mind? But yeah, she was getting up there herself, so they put her down. Good God, what the hell have they done to those kids? Put the dog down because it's no longer really convenient. That's it.
That is the society we're in.
Because I think we still got a few good years left in her.
Look at what Canada's trying to do right now. They're trying to legalize euthanizing babies and people with mental disabilities.
Yeah.
What they're trying to say is, if you're an inconvenience to us, we should be allowed to kill you.
Yeah.
We're in such a selfish world right now. It's horrible.
There's one meme going on. I need something or other. In Canada and in Canada, it's like you have an appointment in 6 months. In the U.S. that would be $50,000. Or in UK, your appointment's in 6 months. In the U.S., your bill is $50,000. In Canada, would you like to die?
And don't get me wrong, it's getting harder to get fast treatment here anymore.
Yeah.
But at least when you don't have the government controlling it, if somebody turns you down or won't help you, you have other options.
Yeah. Well, there's one, I think, hard to turn. I think it's, was a trans, the one who went a little too far down the trans road, sort of that way. But the surgery, but this was wrong, and he got constant pain and issues there, and she Canadian, so she tried to get an appointment to just off it, and it's been an off and on battle. Don't do that. So it's frankly, we kind of need your voice in this here. We don't need you killing yourself. So it's better, I think, partial probably to the whole system. It's the appointments is forever. So that you're going to be waiting to kill yourself whether you like it or not. Okay. There's something about the Canadian mindset. It's just because with all the truckers and Trudeau doing his best imitation of his biological father, and canceling checking the thing. If you tried that in America, we'd have been shooting a long time ago. But Canadians need to put up with it because they seem to value order more than anything. Well, they're being disorderly. Yeah, because you're screwing with their lives. What the hell? How does this asshole keep getting reelected? There's one commentator, it's very possible there may not be a Canada in a few years, the way it's going, because the way their union is set up is much different. They could very easily, most of Western Canada say, screw it, we're joining the U.S. You guys are idiots back east. British Columbia just become its own country because they've got a lot of international stuff in there. But most of the Western provinces would petition to join the U.S. Quebec, of course, this is their big chance to break off. Canada would consist of basically Ottawa and Nova Scotia, pretty much.
Yeah, well, I'm sitting there thinking there's not enough people to adjust to the country they have now.
Mm-hmm. That
This
point, I'm
thing
kind of like,
drives me absolutely crazy.
it's like if the Western provinces became United States territory, suddenly that Keystone Pipeline would be back up and running in no time because
No. You don't want to start me on that. You really don't
that's
want to.
how the would thing. But just the fact that it's no longer an international border thing because the federal government has
Because
no jurisdiction state to state within U.S. territory. That's the governor's thing. That's why he got all the
because
drilling during Obama because it was all domestic. He couldn't
yeah,
stop it.
but I'm for drilling, and I still oppose that. And I
Oh,
think for a lot of reasons.
the whole thing of how it went out and where it's going. No, but it would be back on, one form or another, because then the feds couldn't stop it.
They do realize that was only supposed to be a replacement pipeline, anyways, and the one that's currently there is already leaked repeatedly for multiple violations of safety protocol.
Yeah, that's a separate issue. Okay. Now you're not doing it right, but
and they were doing
it illegally,
and they were trying to seize other people's lands, trying to block water access to different places.
Yeah,
they were shut down by the courts like 12 different times for all these different violations, and they weren't given rights to those lands.
Yeah,
that's the reason why I won't support that.
Yeah, so it needs to be done, but it needs to be done right. Okay,
And that was the issue we were trying to get out to people, is that this actually really does violate the treaties. It violates water rights. It puts multiple states and reservations in danger. And then the fucking idiots from Cali showed up, whined about anti-oil shit, trashed the land, and blamed the natives. Fuck DiCaprio, fuck Ruffalo, fuck all of those fuckers who came out there and trashed land and let the natives take the blame for their bullshit.
That's where you got the situation now where people are blocking traffic and then getting their asses kicked by the people who are, getting their, like moms trying to get their kids to the hospital. I don't give a fuck about your fucking kid out on a damn road. See another video, the guy sitting there with a banner, the guy snatches his banner, it's like, come on, one guy thought it was a martial arts thing. Oh, really, come on. You have worn out your welcome.
And that's the thing. Before all of the Hollywood decided they wanted to get in on the protest so they could use it for their politics.
Yeah.
This was people with permits on public land and tribal land, not on the land that was actually owned by the company.
Yeah.
Peacefully protesting, and they weren't blocking anyone. And then Hollywood showed up. Fuck Hollywood.
Yeah. Oh, and that's got a little thing. This was, back when Stephen King was still under a gag order to talk about. Well, no, that's something different then. They're talking about drive-in theater showing the movie Twister. Got taken up by a tornado.
Yeah, I remember that. There was actually footage somebody recorded of it, and it didn't just come through during the movie Twister. It literally ripped through the screen while it was showing one of the scenes. While it was showing the scene of it ripping through the theater. It ripped on the screen, and then it ripped through the screen right after. Literally.
Some stoners in the back. Wow, this is great special effects, man. Pass that bong.
I'm sure, right?
Now, it did remind me of another thing where there was a drive-in theater where they're showing The Shining, Stanley Kubrick's thing. And again, something happens, a Twister takes out the screen, and Stephen King's laughing his ass off. So, because for a long time he could not say anything about because he did not like what Stanley Kubrick did with The Shining. Because he put together what's supposed to be a ghost story. Kubrick did not believe in ghosts. He just preferred to do it at a guy going nuts. And to make things worse, he cast somebody who was already clearly nuts, Jack Nicholson. There's no suspense here.
I mean,
one of the better reviews I've seen was Channel Awesome, Nostalgia Critic. The thing they did for comparing the Kubrick version of The Shining and the Steven Weber one. That is hilarious, especially the way they start doing the callbacks to the Kubrick thing.
Would it surprise you guys? I really can't stand Stephen King.
He's turned into a bit of a douche nozzle.
He was always one. He used to hide it.
He's revealed.
I can't stand his writing. It doesn't scare me. It's oversimplified half the time. The rest of the time it's pretentious and doesn't match the rest of his writing. I've never understood why he's popular. You read his books and it looks like he's having a bipolar meltdown while he's writing. He keeps switching writing styles. It doesn't flow. It's nonsensical bullshit.
Writing, his book about writing is pretty good. You know, the old thing, if you can't do, teach. You know.
Mm-hmm.
The big thing is he goes on this, anti-gun rants about things. But, you realize, Maine, the state you live in there, Steve, has the most lax gun laws in the country.
It goes between Maine and Vermont usually, actually.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which are actually very
very peaceful
states.
But the gun laws, though, are liberal in the old sense, as in very free and open. You could probably still own a cannon and a a few other things in there. But guess what doesn't happen in Maine or not? Mass shootings. Where do they happen? Chicago, New York, where they have the strictest gun laws.
Yeah, as much as they're trying to make it sound like this
you can't even own a toy gun with it. Yeah.
They try to make this sound like this big national catastrophe. The thing is, mass shootings. They can track almost all of them. Illegal guns from across the border happening in gun-free zones in major cities.
They also define guns, mass shooting as like more than two people.
There was
if a third person's involved, suddenly it's a mass shooting. It's like, excuse me? Because people think mass shooting, they're thinking like a school shooting, where 15, 20 people are lying dead. No, it's
yeah. And the thing is that there was a reason, and actually by definition of when they coined the term, mass shootings were supposed to require more than 10 victims.
Yeah.
Because it's not a mass of people.
Look how the stats have shot up. Yeah, because you changed the definition between this time and then.
They changed the definition, and they're counting everything, including murder, suicides of couples and homes and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong. We're having an issue with violence on the rise in society right now because of a selfish society that to me first.
Mm-hmm.
But they also were clear that they didn't list gang shootings. It's just mass shootings because it's a separate issue, and it is. And they never used to tag those together, and now they are, which changes the stats drastically, especially in L.A., Chicago, New York, where gangs are extremely prevalent.
Oh God, yeah. And the thing is, going about, we didn't assault weapons ban after somebody shoots up a place with a.
Most of these so-called mass shootings are also done with handguns, not.
Yeah, exactly. And also the definition of assault weapon. I remember the original assault weapon ban going down. The AR-15. One of the features was a presence of a bayonet lug. Well, Colt got around that by removing the bayonet lug. Didn't change a thing about the function of the rifle. But suddenly it's a sporter rifle. It's a sporting rifle. For the most part, nobody noticed it because generally you don't fix a bayonet to go after a deer. So
I keep trying at this point, but
yeah,
I might have a slight lag. Because literally every time I start saying this, you start talking. So
yeah, there's
what I was trying to say. It's in the city that I grew up in, which is far from here.
Yeah.
Well, once I got out of the sticks and lived in the city for a few years, the city I was in for the rest of my youth.
Yeah.
There was actually an attempted mass shooting in a church several years ago.
Yeah.
Do you know why it was an attempted mass shooting?
Because the guy got shot back at.
The guy fled fast because everybody in the church was armed and pulled out their weapons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nobody in the church died. The only reason there was any casualties to this whole event is because he got away because they didn't shoot him because he didn't shoot. So then he had a shootout with the police later and killed several cops before he took him down.
Yeah. Deterrence. And usually the only place you hear about this is the column in the American Rifleman magazine from the NRA, where the armed citizen thing, where they start detailing things where people use these guns defensively. But you never hear about it in the mass media because that doesn't sell.
I still take the NRA.
Yeah.
They sabotaged gun laws in multiple states because they weren't the ones sponsoring them. They did all kinds of shit, and they do have ties to freaking CARE and the Muslim Brotherhood.
Yeah. They try to bring everyone together.
Oh, fuck them.
Care needs to be shut down and driven out of it. Okay, they're at the front.
And the thing is, I don't have a problem with the different abilities and stuff to deal with gun laws and stuff. I hate the NRA also because they're part of the whole scapegoating mental illness and making it sound like anybody with any mental illness should be locked up or kept from weapons and stuff like that.
Well, it's an easy target,
but it's you demonizing people and pushing the whole eugenics viewpoint that certain people are subhuman. And for a fact that is most crimes are committed willingly and logically. People choose to do it of their own accord. It is free will. It is not mental illness. First of all. Second of all, most mental illnesses are not connected to violent behavior. They always try to blame bipolar. Bipolar does not make you violent. It only intensifies what you already have.
Yeah.
If you're violent bipolar, you're violent before.
What we define as mental illness now would not have met the requirement back when they wrote the damn amendment.
Yes, but then again,
you're just a little weird, but you're still competent in how. Yeah. So you don't have to be a raving lunatic for them to say no. You don't get a gun. You're going to hurt yourself. Yeah. But
have you actually? In the 1700s, we've really got to have a lag because every time I start talking.
Yeah.
In the 1700s, the reason that it was done.
I'm gonna get a soda.
And they weren't as bad with the asylum culture.
We're not to show anything here. Yeah, I'm fine. Okay.
By the 1800s, the asylum culture, everything's mental illness, the locking people up for nothing was rampant, and the things listed as reasons to lock people up counted everything from PMS to asthma to just refusing to give your husband sex when he wants it, postpartum depression, anything else. I mean, the list of things that they had as excuses to lock women in these asylums, especially, was horrific. It's like any excuse to just lock them up.
Yeah.
Basically, it was the husbands had the knowledge that we could tell the woman, do as we say, or I'll have you locked up, and I have the means because they'll lock you up for anything I say.
Yeah.
And look, the first sex toys were designed literally as sexual assault devices to classify your woman and keep her calm. I'm sorry, if your woman isn't calm and sex toys would change that, it means you're a bad lay.
Yeah. Americans have a way of going for extreme measures on both ends because,
some of that started in Europe, and we just went with them.
Well, there's a reason why Americans in general are seen as insane. Okay, because we were founded by the not respectable ones who could not live. We were too crazy for the British to put up with for the most part. It's like, no, that's
speak for yourselves.
You go to the old the unsavage territory with them. Please leave. There's a stretch along the coast there. Yeah. There's this parcel here by the. Yeah, go for it. Yeah, please. Don't.
But
And of course, Australia, they ship all the criminals down there. So but it's
the thing that drives me absolutely crazy with a lot of this stuff, and it absolutely makes me infuriated, is that they push all these division tactics. They push all this stuff to try to tear people apart. Well, first of all, look, the founding of the country was a lot more complicated, and let's face it, the globe as a whole has intentionally pushed over dramatized extremist stereotypes of America for decades and decades, intentionally to make the world hate us. But there's also, let's be honest, how much do they promote the whole idea that America was rampant with witch hunts and it was all everywhere was like Salem and all this shit? Do you know how many people were actually killed in the witch hunts in America?
Not a lot, and I'm pretty much sure every one of them was not actually a witch.
No, none of them were actually known as being in the
vendetta
witch. None of them were known to be in the witch cultures, but it was 25 in the U.S.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you know how many were killed in the witch hunts in Europe?
Quite a few.
Millions.
It was also for a longer period of time too.
Yeah, and it was millions. It was everywhere there.
And actually, the couple of members of my family in England, they're in the Book of Martyrs. So I have no love for Queen Mary, you know. So yeah, I'm call her Bloody Mary. Yeah, I'll join in that Bloody Mary. All right, yeah.
So it really infuriates me because I've actually had conversations where some fucking person in Europe will try to make comments about how bad the witch hunts in America were. And I'm like, we weren't the bad ones.
No.
You were.
And actually, Mary went a little crazy by Inquisition standards because burning was relatively rare. They killed them other ways, pressing or whatever. But Mary's the one that went all out and actually burned people at the stake for this sort of thing. And that kind of okay, she's a bit nuts. Okay.
I'm one of those. I just look at these situations and I go, can we acknowledge it was wrong and actually do it in a way that's maybe honestly? We can say that something was wrong without intentionally over dramatizing it, playing the look. I have been told that I'm anti-America, that I'm all this stuff, that I'm a bigot to the settlers, all these things because God. How dare I defend the fact that the natives? It was our homeland. Of course, we were not as wrong, even when we were attacking the people that were moving in and trying to take it from us.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a given, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the tribes did things that were wrong. They did.
Yeah.
There were mistakes made. There were innocent victims on both sides.
Yeah. Don't buy the noble savage routine either. Okay.
Well, the thing is, we could be noble and all that and still have mistakes. And
no, very much savage.
This viewpoint that we were all, well, depends on the person that pissed us off. I mean, yeah. And that's pretty true.
And which tribe and something, But even back then, the myth of the noble savage, that was back in the day they were doing that shit. It wasn't even just a modern thing. Of just flower children, one with nature bullshit, okay? There's still evidence of some natives abusing the land. Okay.
There were a lot of tribes who were very intricate with nature. The thing is, a lot of the things they used to push the whole noble savage, they took the best part of about 12 of the most known tribes and tried to basically lump us all as one tribe with all of those put together to try and make us into these peaceful beatniks that we weren't. And look, I actually think that our lifestyle, the way we live with the land, our lifestyle, the way we hunt, actually is noble if we do it right. However, I'm not going to sit here and say it was never done wrong. I'm not going to sit here and say that there were never mistakes because that's not true either. And look, I've talked about Lakota were and still are. They're massive honor code system. We believe in honor. No, there were not slaves taken. There were prisoners of war who were released once we knew they were going to try to bring people down to attack us. But a lot of those prisoners stayed long term because they liked their captors. And that is actually true. Because they liked the lifestyle. They liked being out there. They liked the fact that it was a very woman-centered culture.
It's like, you can go now. Do I have to? I like it.
Basically, that was actually what happened is a lot of them were released and instantly asked to get tribal membership and join. And it's documented it happened. So it's complicated. They weren't slaving. They weren't doing this. But were they taking prisoners of war? Were they keeping them captive while they made sure nobody was going to fuck with them and all that shit? Yes.
That's common sense.
There's no documentation anywhere that proves that my tribe ever did slavery. Because it went against our very culture and religion in such an intense way because of what our belief structure was. Our structure was the one that they tried to misuse with all the tribes. We literally believed you cannot own something that's living. You can only be a steward of its care.
Yeah.
That would mean slavery violates every notion of what we believe. You can't own anything that's alive.
Yeah.
So, no, we didn't have the slavery systems and stuff. Does that mean that we weren't horrible to our enemies? No.
Well, yeah. You think?
And this is why I tell people I get really pissed off when they start making these comments. Well, you guys were killing each other before we came anyway, so it doesn't matter. It's like, yes, it does. It's still a genocide, first of all. Think about every part of the world, every culture has been killing each other off in their own lands and against their own race for all of history. That would be like me saying, oh, it'd be fine for Africa to invade England and wipe them all out because, or Europe and wipe them all out because Europeans have been warring with each other for millenniums. It's true, but it doesn't justify what would be done.
I mean, that kind of goes thing. It's like, this is on Indian land. Okay, well, the old rules, by right of conquest, okay? The same reason they had their land and we took it from somebody else. Well, we took it from them. We just had better weapons. Okay? That's the way of the world. Now, things could have been done a lot better on all sides. Certainly on the white side, we fucked up and are continuing to fuck up.
And yes, to the people who go, well, it wasn't stolen. It's like, yes, it was. Literally, conquering and conquest means stealing. It means taking from somebody else. That is literally stealing.
Yeah.
You got to acknowledge the truth in it. Nobody's innocent. Nobody's guilty completely. Yeah. Although Custer came close.
We could bring in a Pawnee here, and he'd have some nice words for you as Lakota. Okay? So.
But doesn't mean everything's
I know.
sunshine lollipops. It doesnn't mean everything's perfect. And that's the thing I get at. And I get blasted for saying it on both sides. It's like, look, we had this noble notion as a tribe. The Sioux tribes were splitting because we were too massive as a nation to survive together because we could not build cities the way our culture was structured. So we've divided into these smaller tribes. Great, fine.
It was supposed to be this Quickie, but well, so much for that idea. It's almost 2 hours now.
So we divided. We split into multiple tribes. So in the middle of this time, when what became the Sioux and the Sheridan and Cheyenne and those were all splitting from this original tribal belt they were all from, the section that split off as Lakota went, okay, well, we want to know what this land is. We don't know this whole land. We've been here in the center as long as our history documents. We know what this plains area is. We know where the land of God and the land of hell are. So we want to know what the rest of this continent is. We want to know what the rest of creation is. So they set together a group and said, take these, we'll make you lightweight teepees you can carry in on these devices, all this stuff. And they set up this whole system to be able to pick up the entire Indian town and move it every so many days. And this way, they would go to a place, they'd travel for a while, they'd stop, they'd stay there a few days and explore the land around it and then move on. And the whole deal was, you go do this, half the tribe will stay here, guard the lands that we're supposed to be guarding and protect them. When you come back, we'll join back together and we'll share the knowledge with each other. You travel around, and we did. To our credit, we did the entire fucking continent. There's documentation, there's artifacts, there's people in tribes all the way up into the Arctic, all the way down into the far right.
Took a few centuries longer than planned, though.
Who have Lakota words in their speech, who have artifacts from interacting with them. It took the mainland area took about 600 years. The total time from left to return is almost 900.
Yeah, you're only gone for a pack of cigarettes, you bastards! I don't know who you are anymore. All right, fuck you. That's on. Okay.
And that's the other thing is, so we get back in. We have all the stuff to prove who we are. We have all the artifacts. We have all the documentation. We have our paintings and our artifacts we made to tell the stories of all the stuff we explored and learned. And they still rejected us and said, you can't be our lost tribe that last. Meanwhile, we've been traveling for hundreds of years. We want to go fucking home. We weren't being
Said we're
told
coming
no by
back.
anybody.
That was 600 years ago. Fuck you. You're late.
So they refused to let us in. We refused to be pushed away, and
bam.
And we lost about 2/3 of both tribal groups. And yes, the ones returning won. And so now they claim that the tribe that we warred when we came back in the 1800s was another tribe, and we wiped them out. It's like, no, first of all, we didn't wipe all of them out.
No.
Some of them joined because they knew who we were.
Yeah.
And second of all, there wasn't another tribe, it was us.
Yeah.
Let's get it straight. It was our own tribe.
It just took a little longer to find that pack of cigarettes. Okay, the store down the street was out. We had to go further down, and one thing led to another. Yeah, it's 900 years later. Fuck you. We're home.
And it's freaky in some ways to think about the dedication that would take to travel for the main area, and with the other stuff they did, everything. Almost 900 years.
Yeah.
They left in the Dark Ages. They came back during early American settler times.
In the beginnings of the Industrial Revolution.
They were traveling, they were exploring, but they were trying because they wanted to know what God created. It was a noble endeavor of exploration.
Yeah.
And think about the dedication of every family that kept doing this for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And kept following the edict. I don't blame them for being pissed, saying, no, we're coming home, fuck you.
Yeah,
right?
For F Troop fans, for a while there, a large part of it, they became the Hagawi, okay? What's the big thing? We're the Hagawi, yeah.
And it drives me crazy sometimes. Because I can sit there and go, okay, all out.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah,
we made mistakes. We made big mistakes now. But you know what?
Those native-owned stores don't pay taxes. That's why the cigarettes are damn cheap. I heard the same
Only true of some. Only true of some.
It is true of the Cherokee Nation. And they are.
It's true of Cherokee and Navajo. It is not true of a lot of the tribes.
They are vicious business guys down there. Uncle down there in Tahlequah.
That's the other thing. It's so complicated because none of the tribes have the same trees. Some of us never got full trees because we got shoved into something. And what Lincoln did was absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, we're going to gather 38 men who we have no evidence actually committed these crimes and execute them for the crimes. Even though multiple tribes are telling us, no, this was the renegades, it's the people who've been kicked out for these kinds of crimes and are not welcome in any tribe. And they're from almost every tribe there is. And then once we execute these innocent people, I'm going to sign a treaty with one tiny Dakota tribe, and I'm going to try to make every single Sioux tribe live by it. You do realize the Lakota, Dakota, and Nakota do not get along. Yes. We don't like each other. We're very, very, very faintly, distantly related. We're not close. We don't like each other.
Of course, Washington's attitude is like, that's your problem. You figure it out. By the way, we're taking your land. Bye. No, if you haven't seen that Razor Fist video on Lincoln, it's
fucking finally.
God.
Part of why I couldn't sleep is because I've been having reactions to stuff with everything going on, and I've been having problems keeping my blood oxygen high enough and my pulse low enough to actually sleep. And I was not doing well tonight with it. My oxygen got down into the lower 90s. My pulse was up into well over 100.
Yeah.
As of just testing it, it's 98 over 80.
Okay.
So I'm back to pretty normal.
Yeah. No, Razor Fist, Lincoln was a monster if you look back and actually what he did.
To natives, especially.
Not just natives, but during the Civil War, he was a fucking dictator. He saw his chance to be a absolute ruler, and he's like vital. Constitution. What's that? No, we'll deal with that later.
This is why I said, I
imagine if he
agree.
hadn't been assassinated, he probably would have gone for multiple terms beyond.
I agree with the cause that most of the North had, and I do agree that we. And there's a history behind this that goes before that too.
Yeah.
They misrepresent the 3/5 clause to say that they didn't want to credit minorities as being fully human. The reason they did that is because the slave owners were claiming that they had a right to vote in place of their slaves.
Yeah, they wanted representation in Congress, but it's like, no, if they can't vote, then no, you don't get to count them. And it was the compromise. Okay, you can have 3/5. The point was to try and put slavery on a downward glide to extinction. And that
clause was actually done.
If you want to count them as full people, you need to free them. Give them right to vote, then you can count them and you get your representation.
That I do. So my breathing issues and my nerve conditions, I kind of have to check those often. So yeah.
So there's
I've got my pulse under 80, then I'm good. I need to go to bed soon, but at least I'm getting more stable. It's been like 3 nights in a row I haven't been able to sleep well because it's been spiking. So I don't want to end up on oxygen like last year. So I'm trying to fight it with that.
The misinformation about the cause of the war and what they're for. I remember that Ken Burns thing about talking to Shelby Foote. You talk motivation of the soldiers. You talk to a Northern soldier why they're fighting, and you'd hear about slavery and the preserving the Union. But most Southern soldiers say, "Why are you fighting? Because you're down here. You're in my land. Get the hell off my land. That's why I'm fighting."
Go back to what we were talking about the other day. I had no problem with somebody talking about. Well, first of all, some of the battles did happen up towards the north too. Not all, but there were some up into the middle of the country and stuff. This wasn't just in the south. But the problem I had with the person the other day is they're like painting this whole picture where all the Northerners are like massive invading rapists who just want to kill all Southerners and stuff. And all the Southerners are innocent people who are just defending their homes and stuff. It's like, that's not true. Fuck you. There were good and bad people on both sides, and that is the truth. And I have no problem calling out the bad that was on both sides.
The other thing about Stonewall Jackson, that was not meant as a compliment when it was first coined. It wasn't. It stood there like a stone wall. No, it stood like a stone wall. Wasn't doing a damn thing. He basically froze in the middle of the battle. That's what they were talking about. People are getting, his men are dying. He's just sitting there eating a peach. What the fuck is wrong with this idiot? That's where that came from.
Yeah, it's just. I see some of the stuff and I'm like, I can't help but kind of laugh because people are. There's so much dishonesty just to push different people's viewpoints.
And I'm still a little sore about the thing with the jackass, stomping on a Confederate flag at Gettysburg, and I just come back. You're lucky none of my family died at Gettysburg, and I have to go hurt you, And that just started all kinds of. I'm getting accused of being,
And then there's this little.
No, I'm saying this is, respect for the dead. This is a military cemetery and war monument. Show some fucking respect. I'm not defending anybody.
And then there's this little bitch, and I will say little bitch openly, and I don't care. I'm not going to say the name because it's somebody that streams with some of the people I care about, but she thought she was being so cute to go on Indigenous Day and post her tribute to natives, posting a picture of her ancestor who was in the U.S. government, who was part of the Indian Wars in the groups that were targeting to wipe out women and children, and praise him for the fact that he was trying to wipe out the Indians.
Okay, what just cropped up in here? Why is my Steam account trying to butt in? Get out of there.
Are you fucking kidding me? You racist piece of shit. Don't get me wrong. I don't want you to hate your family.
No.
But to post that to natives on Indigenous Day and tell them basically this is my contribution to it. Let's celebrate that your people were being wiped out by my ancestor. That's that's evil as fuck.
That's tone deaf as hell.
No, that's flat out evil. Let's be honest. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people who haven't seen through her bullshit that I like as people, but she's really good at pretending to be really sweet when she's on streams with people, and then pulling this shit when people aren't looking.
Yeah. No, I got, I mean, digging around, I have found that apparently there were members of my, not my direct family, because my line of the family had left the area for a while. I think they'd gotten as far as Tennessee. So there's still quite a contingent back in Virginia and stuff, and Alabama and stuff. So yeah, there were members of my overall broader family that were at Gettysburg, but none of them died at Gettysburg. In fact, I was recently dinking around on Ancestry, and think there's quite a few of my family buried at Arlington. I only knew of one from. No, there's actually quite a few there. It's like, well then.
It's really interesting. If I go to my dad's side of the family, I've got tribal chiefs, great artists, medicine men, warriors, leaders, all this stuff. Yeah. I go to mom's side of the family. Oh, we've got ties to the royal family. We've got ties to all these families, but we go to the more recent family people we're related to, and oh my God.
Holy shit. Here and there, or what?
Benedict Arnold the Billy the Kid at the start of it.
I still
horse thieves are gentle. That's compared to what I'm related to on mom's side.
I still say Brushy Bill Roberts was Billy the Kid. Okay, I think I liked his case, but I also know why they kept that. No, I can't, because the thing is, if they believe it, then there goes the tourist industry for where supposedly he's buried. No.
I don't know if I believe that he's buried where they claimed he is. I'll put that. I will agree with that.
Yeah.
But
they brought in people who knew Billy. Yeah, that's Billy. He knows too much, and you recognize him.
Let's just say this will be tracking well, and there's some others too that are just some people I don't want to name, kind of things. I look at my mom's side and say, well, I can be proud of the grandfather backways and the grandmother backways. I mean, it was the Duchess who was in the top line, close to the throne. She could have had a chance if something happened.
And then William Bonney shows up,
and she was forced. She was forced into this marriage she never wanted to be a part of, and then they declared she died suddenly. You know what? That was proven untrue years later. We already knew it was untrue because she took artifacts with her when she fled. Yeah. She ran off on the husband she was forced to marry with the Irish slave partner.
Oops.
That's where I come from. So, on that side. She said, screw you and your arranged marriage. I want the guy out there. So there's that.
Yeah, I think I got a few weeks before the account goes on pause. But
I have some interesting things, and I really laugh because I've had some people. It's like back when I was streaming with Richard and Will all the time, and Will loved to call Richard a fucking peasant.
Yeah.
And I made a crack once, and the gentries are lower on the royal scale than some of my family members were, and he just glared at me. I'm like, what? I was like, sorry, did I say that? Because we all know gentries are a part of the House of Lords. He's not a nobody,
Yeah. Yeah.
But I had to take the cheap to get it, right?
Yeah, I just remember Valerie Bertinelli was on Craig Ferguson was still doing the Late Late Show. And talk about what she did today, and she was expecting this to be Italian names. No, it's mostly English. In fact, she apparently one of the, goes back to Edward I, which didn't set well with Craig. Edward I, aka the Hammer of the Scots. It's like, but she, I'm returned. I can tell you what to do. One, fuck you. It's like, you're not telling me a damn thing. It's like they're all laughing at it, but oh yeah, we know who Edward the First was. Okay.
And that's the problem.
Yeah.
Some people can't let go of this stuff in order to see the people today are not the people that did these crimes.
I mean, they're laughing about it at the time, but it's like, but still.
My mom had a coworker for a while. He didn't know much about his family other than the fact that his grandmother was creepy, and he wanted to know why. And so he decided to go find their homeland. Their homeland being out between Germany and Pennsylvania area. Which was an instant red flag to me anyways. Because because a lot of those horror stories are based on real people. Just saying.
There's some graves with stakes to their hearts.
And he decided to go, and he decided I probably should just go as a tourist and not talk about who I am, and find out what I can find out. And so he went to this town, and he went to tour the castle his family was from. And he's talking to the people that work there, going, "So what would you do if you ever met somebody in this family today? Kill him."
Oops.
Yeah. And he's sitting there going,
"Okay, yeah. Let's see, where's the nearest McDonald's again? Yeah. Bye."
And it was absolute, and there was all kinds of stuff. Apparently, a lot of old horror stories were based on things this family did to people. And he said there he had no idea that he was telling all this stuff and all these historical horrors, and this castle had ties to all the back to Vlad and Victoria and interacting with them in the generations and stuff. And this castle was part of all of it.
Yeah.
And he said, like, I didn't know this was my family. Yeah. And his grandmother apparently did, and she was proud of it. She wanted to create a cult based off it.
Well, it's like, you think about, the times like when Vlad the Impaler, okay? This is what they had to resort to drive the Ottoman hordes out of the area. They got to look at it from why would they do that? Because this is what it takes to get their attention. Okay? You are not welcome here. We do not want your religion. Go away. It's like, okay, I think they really mean it, guys. Look, where we go now.
The problem was he did it to his own men and his own people.
That's true, yeah.
And had a tendency.
Some people, Vlad the Impaler is a folk hero still.
There's still documentation of him having women decapitated and put on pikes for not sleeping with them.
Yeah, he was not a nice guy. Yeah,
this was not he may have in some ways helped some people, but he was not a good guy, and he destroyed not just the enemy but his own people too.
Yeah. And
there's people trying to clear the name of Victoria and trying to claim that she was a victim, and it was really the men doing it.
Of who now?
The Blood Countess.
Okay, yeah. I'm not that up on the folklore.
They're literally trying to claim that she was a victim and it was really the men doing it. Literally, she literally said she did this stuff at one point during this. Besides the fact that when they locked her up, she was so bloodthirsty that she started mutilating herself because she had to cause something to bleed. That's how she died. But they're still trying to paint her as a victim because it's just then. It's the whole feminist thing. Every historical evil woman has to be a victim.
There's also an innate male hardwired need to defend the female. So we gleefully play along with, it wasn't her fault. There was something else was happening. No, she was evil, okay? Sometimes just an evil bitch, and it's like, no, this is nothing. Can't blame this on somebody else. Okay, this is her.
I think your wife is unsubtly hinting that you should go to bed.
Well, I don't know. That was a. Well, also I think it's like, because my hours reset. I think as of today, actually. So it's kind of to just shoot the wad and get this over with. But yeah, it's a couple hours into. I think I probably did kill off what was left there. So we'll go ahead and wrap it up here. But yeah, they'll come in attractions. If you've stuck around this long on the replay, don't know why, but upcoming will be a proper review of the Lower Decks Strange New Worlds crossover. It's okay, I guess, but it's also ultimately disposable because there's too much stuff that doesn't match up with either side. So. And I'm going to start doing a review of the Center Seat, which is a documentary series that Gates McFadden did. And there's a bit of too much of the fan legend that's creeped in there. It's like, no, that's not how it happened. Okay. Like, the whole thing about, they hated it. Like the episode of Lieutenant. They were so horrified at a black thing, they never aired it. No, they aired that episode, and it ran in reruns, and that's why things happened. But we'll get into that later. So, on that note, we'll go ahead and just pull the plug here. And since I opened up with the opening video, let's see, where are we? I might as well put the closing one up so we can properly bookend this. So, links down in the description. You want to support the thing, and we will talk at you later.